All right, so adjective clauses, which we've already kind of talked about a little bit, but just a review for y'all. Adjective clauses function as adjectives modifying a noun or a pronoun, which is known as the antecedent. These clauses are most frequently introduced by the relative pronouns que, quien or quienes, or el que or la que or los que. You can see the examples there. If the noun modified is a definite one, then the indicative is used. And I know that because of the definite articles like la or el or los or las. So if, for example, speaking about a specific secretary, busco a la secretaria que habla español. I know which one I'm looking for. I just can't remember her name. So I'm looking for the secretary who speaks Spanish. If the noun or pronoun modified is negated, which would be negatory, non-existent, vague, or indefinite articles, by the way, un, una, unos, unas, then the verb in the modifying clause would be in the subjunctive. And another one besides those un and unas would be like alguien. That's the vague terminology there. So speaking about a non-specific secretary, so busco una secretaria que hable español, or estoy buscando una secretaria que hable español. I'm looking for a secretary who speaks Spanish. Not necessarily the secretary who speaks Spanish. I don't know who it is. I'm just looking for someone who speaks Spanish. Other examples, hay alguien aquí que hable español. I'm asking if anybody here speaks Spanish. And it's a question. It's vague. And then buscamos una paz que sea duradera. We're looking for a peace that's lasting. Just a peace, whatever. Like peace, love, all that kind of peace. ¿Conoce usted a alguien que sea soldado? Do you know anybody who's a soldier? I do find it interesting that right after the fact that we're looking for an everlasting peace, we're looking for a soldier. Contradictory much? Anyway, so those are some examples of the adjective clause. And back to, hold on one second, and with the magic of TV, I'm back. Back to what I was saying in class. An example would be if you're my assistant and I'm looking for the girl who wanted to buy the red dress. Okay, I'm a designer, let's say. So I say, I need you to go get that girl that wanted to buy the red dress. And you go and you find Barbara. And the girl I was actually talking about was Kate. Well, you're fired, right? You didn't find the right girl. I was specifically talking about Kate, and you went and got Barbara, or maybe I switched my example there. But if I'm looking for the girl who wanted the red dress, and you go out and get a girl that wanted a different dress, then we're wrong here, right? I wanted the girl with the red dress, or that wanted the red dress. A different example would be, I'm a designer, and I'm looking for a girl who wants a red dress. So you could go out and gather 15 people, and I'm going to be happy with whoever you get as long as each one of those girls wants a red dress. That would be a subjunctive use of it because it's vague. I'm not telling you exactly who it is. Both of these things are adjective clauses because I'm describing what I want, but I'm not. But in one case, the indicative case, I'm sure of what I want. I just can't remember what it's called for whatever reason, or maybe I'm just describing it. Whereas in the subjunctive case, I don't necessarily know exactly what I want. I'm just giving you some vague idea or indefinite idea, and then you're going to tell me what my options are, kind of. So that's really the difference there. So in this practice, I want you to go through and think about whether or not it's going to be the subjunctive or the indicative based on what I'm looking for. And to add to that, we're going to talk about the present perfect subjunctive. So we've got the present perfect indicative and we've got the present perfect subjunctive. And the difference between the two is that the present perfect subjunctive, I'm looking for my notes here, the present perfect subjunctive is obviously in the subjunctive mood, so I'm indicating a wish, an emotion, an impersonal observation, request, or a demand, or doubt, denial, and disbelief, or I'm using ojalá, or I'm using speculation. So it's still the exact same rules that I used to decide whether I was going to use the subjunctive or the indicative before I started doing all this craziness right here. But I'm now combining it with the verb haber and the past participle, so it kind of doubles your stress level or your workload here, right? So instead of just saying, ojalá que hables español, I hope that you speak Spanish, now I'm saying, ojalá que hayas estudiado español. I hope that you have studied Spanish. So it's two different things that I'm saying there, but I'm kind of doing the have done this or have completed this action. So that would be the present perfect subjunctive. So here is what we're doing. Let me show you your present perfect indicative. Okay, so you can see here that I've got the present perfect, and they've actually got the exact same example, hablado, right? So I'm going to maximize this screen. Okay, so if I can look at these side by side, I've got the verb haber in both cases, and haber just kind of means to have done something, right? You have to use it with a participle. Here it is in the indicative, and here it is in the subjunctive. And this is actually the only part, if I could just cover up the hablado part, this, haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, hayáis, and hayan, is the subjunctive form of haber, and has, ha, hemos, habéis, and han are the present indicative, and we use that in the fall, right? So all I have to do is make a decision here about, is the sentence supposed to be in the indicative or is the sentence supposed to be in the subjunctive? But this is what's going on when I'm talking about the present perfect. So if I say, I hope you have spoken to your mother, then I would be using which one? I just said hope. Does that mean you've spoken to your mother? No, I don't know if you have or not. So I hope you have spoken to your mother. Ojalá que hayas hablado con tu mamá. All right? I should have highlighted the O as well. Hayas hablado. If I say, I know that you have spoken to your mother, I'm saying I know it. Yo sé que. That's an indicative statement, right? Hopefully you know your differences between indicative and subjunctive. So if I'm saying, I know that you have spoken to your mother, yo sé que has hablado con tu mamá. All right? Another one would be, I'm not going to let you go to the movies until you have spoken with your mother. Maybe you got in a fight with her. Until is hasta que, and that is a speculation subjunctive phrase. So no te voy a dejar ir al cine hasta que hayas hablado con tu mamá. Again, that's a subjunctive phrase because you may or may not talk to your mom. If you don't talk to your mom, you're not going to the movies. And then creo que has hablado con tu mamá. I think you've talked to your mom. And no hay duda de que has hablado con tu mamá. There's not a doubt that you've spoken to your mom. Okay? So that's the difference really between the present perfect indicative and the present perfect subjunctive. The participle here will never change. Hablado will be hablado no matter what. It's a participle. It's not a real verb. It's just a participle of a verb, which means it's always going to look the same when I'm using it as the present perfect. It's always going to be masculine and singular, and it's never going to change. The only thing that's going to change is the verb that goes with it, haber, which is either haya or and then you go down the chart there. So has, ha, hemos, han, and haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, and hayan. And the way I keep these straight is that and hemos both have the e in them, and then everything else has the a. So hemos, and then has, ha, and then on at the bottom. So hopefully that helps you. What you're going to do moving forward is use this present perfect subjunctive and present perfect indicative. Basically read through the sentences, decide which one you think it is, and then you're going to put the present perfect answer, whether it's subjunctive or indicative, in the blank. You're doing fill in the blank in this as well. I think I'm going to give you a few that are just multiple choice to get you started off, but then I want you to go and put the answers in yourself. So if for some reason it needs an accent, you need to add the accent in. You can look up rules on how to add accents yourself. And then that's it. Don't forget what I talked about at the beginning, which is the adjective clause subjunctive and adjective clause indicative. So I'm going to actually mix and match some of those as well. So an example of that would be yo quiero hablar con el estudiante que ha tomado el examen. I want to talk with the student who has taken the test. I know which student it is. I want to talk to that student specifically. I described them, so it's just ha tomado el examen. If I said I want to talk to any student who has taken the test, then that would be necesito hablar con o quiero hablar con cualquier estudiante or algún estudiante que haya tomado el examen. Because I don't care who I speak to necessarily. They just need to fit within the goals of they've taken the test. So one of them, it's Dave. I just can't remember his name or I'm not saying it. And one of them, I don't really care who it is. As long as you've taken the test, I want to talk to you. Okay? So those are the two examples there. And hopefully that was helpful. Go ahead and give it a try.